Chapter 634. Men are sentimental. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. People have always stuck to their own principles and faith. Some people have remained loyal until they met their end. Some have shared weal and woe to practice filial piety. Some have laid down their lives for audacity, and some have gone through fire and water for integrity. The Orange Star emissary was no exception. So, she could not watch her former young master get killed before her eyes. Swoosh. Her wrist trembled, and the dragon lock chain flew away to sweep Yi to her side. Mulinxi certainly knew what was going on between Zhang Yuochen and Yi. She snorted in contempt, summoned up her white holy sword, and activated the inscription on it to attack the Orange Star emissary. Murong family. Zhang Yuochen had an uncanny look in his eyes while murmuring, "Hold on." Zhang Yuochen stopped Mulinxi and walked up to the Orange Star emissary. "Are you a descendant of the Murong family?" The Orange Star emissary stared at Zhang Yuochen in bewilderment and said, "So what?" Zhang Yuochen nodded his head and beckoned Blackie over with a wave. "Blackie, you take her away first. I will go find her and have a word with her later." Blackie did not expect that Zhang Yuochen would let go of the Orange Star emissary, and he gave a dim-witted smile. He said, "No problem." The Orange Star emissary had no strength to resist the wind power created by the Blackie, and she was blown far away. In a moment, they disappeared over the horizon. "No more nonsense with Yi." Zhang Yuochen employed a sword skill, and waving his hands, he brought out a blast of sword chi from the tips of his fingers and cut off Yi's head. Yi's head and body were set on fire in black leaping flames. When his corpse had been burned to ashes, a stream of black holy chi and red spiritual blood drifted up and entwined with each other as if they were about to produce a new body together. Zhang Yuochen would certainly never give Yi a second chance to reproduce a new flesh body, and he immediately released power of space to part the black holy chi with the red spiritual blood by force. Senior Sister Apprentice Duan Mu, help me to refine Yi's martial soul, Zhang Yuochen said. Martial soul was the soul of a monk. Only by refining his martial soul to the end could Zhang Yuochen kill Yi. The power of Yi's martial soul was comparable to a monk with the cultivation of the 8th change in the fish-dragon realm. It would be hard for Zhang Yuochen to refine it through his cultivation alone. Swoosh. Mulinxi sat cross-legged across from Zhang Yuochen and mobilized from her body a current of freezing chi that turned into a white light column and flashed out of her hands. Zhang Yuochen brought his hands together. The chi between his eyebrows and the mysterious embryo in his belly ran together to integrate into a stream of domineering masculinity. As Zhang Yuochen opened his arms, a fire column suddenly surged away from his palms. Two blasts of power, one cold and one warm, collided with each other and started to refine the black holy chi and the red spiritual blood. Yi's martial soul was enveloped by the two blasts of power. Even though Zhang Yuochen and Mulinxi were cooperating, it still would take them 3 days to completely refine Yi's martial soul. The black holy chi and the red spiritual blood remained floating in the air, like two clouds rotating around each other and forming a Taikai mark. Mulinxi withdrew her genuine chi and looked up. She said, "The black holy chi should be the undying holy chi. If we managed to refine it, we might be able to cultivate ourselves into an immortal saintly being." Zhang Yuo shook his head. "I have been practicing the 5 elements chaotic body, and I have already been at the level of treasured body of 3 spirits. I would not give up halfway in order to cultivate into a saintly being. Moreover, I do not want to dig my heart out." An undying saintly being was also called a heartless saint being. The only way a warrior could cultivate himself into an undying saintly being was to dig his heart out. Even with his heart removed, he still held a very limited rate of success. It was more likely that he would lose his life. An undying saintly being was truly powerful and was comparable to the 4-spirit treasured body. It was a great temptation for anyone, and many people were willing to risk their lives by digging out their hearts to achieve it. Zhang Yuochen never thought about practicing to be an undying saintly being. For him, 5 elements chaotic body was the real challenge. Mulinxi also shook her head in an obvious sign that she had no interest in practicing to be an undying saintly being either. Just when Zhang Yuochen and Mulinxi were considering how to deal with the undying holy chi, The black holy chi and the red spiritual blood in the air swooped downwards as if being dragged down by some kind of force. A human shadow was lying motionless on the ground, and it kept inhaling the holy chi and the spiritual blood. The holy chi and the spiritual blood mingled into an intact flesh body as quickly as a bamboo shoot springing up. Mu Ling's eye was startled and began to put up her guard. She said, "His soul has been refined." "Is Di Yi still alive?" Zhang Yuochen looked thoughtful. His heart always throbbed with joy when he figured something out, and a shadow of a smile gradually touched his mouth. Apparently, he also marveled at it. The black holy chi had condensed into a suit armor. It wrapped around the body, and only an angular and handsome face peeped through. He had sharp facial features, acute eyes, an aquiline nose, and every single line on his face was as distinct as if it had been carved by hatchet. Bukion Fan. Since Mu Ling's had seen Bukion Fan once, she recognized him at first sight. Why would Yi become Bukion Fan after he died? Mu Ling's did not know that Bukion Fan had been refined by Yi into one of his shadows. Therefore, she could hardly believe what she was seeing now. She found it quite amazing. However, Zhang Yuochen looked calm and smiled. Kind of interesting. Bukion Fan stood opposite Zhang Yuochen, his body erect like a javelin, and he said confidently, "Zhang Yuochen, I have to thank you first. If you had not refined Yi's soul, there would be no chance for me to regain my freedom. I owe you a favor." "But shall we put an end to our discord now?" Zhang Yuochen said. "Congratulations. You are free now. And I like those who can tell kindness and hatred apart. But I remember that a long time ago, you already owed me a favor. With this one, it is two you owe me." "What else is between you and me, except the two favors?" Bukion Fan squinted his eyes and involuntarily took a step forward. His body warlike. He said, "Although I was refined into a demonic shadow by Yi, I still retain my old consciousness. Do you think that I could forget what you did to the Orange Star Emissary? As the disciple of a sword-sentient time and space descendant, how could you be so mean? How could you dare to do it, while not daring to admit it?" Zhang Yuochen certainly knew how infatuated Bukion Fan had been with the Orange Star Emissary. What surprised him was that immediately after Bukion Fan regained his freedom and his new body, he began to look for revenge for the Orange Star Emissary. Zhang Yuochen did not know whether to call Bukion Fan a psycho or a fool. Zhang Yuochen kept his face straight. He did not care to explain what had happened between him and the Orange Star Emissary. He smiled. "Forget whether I have done anything to the Orange Star Emissary first. Even if I did, does it have anything to do with you?" Bukion Fan was slightly jolted, and his intention for battle obviously abated. Zhang Yuochen added, "What happened between the Orange Star Emissary and me is none of your business. Who are you? What right do you have to defend her? Are you her lover? No joke. Okay, you are dispensable to her. Even Yi is more important to her than you. Perhaps, so am I." After hearing these words, Bukion Fan was at a loss, and he became flustered. He finally smiled dryly and said despondently, "You are right. I am nothing to her." Zhang Yuochen shook his head and walked toward him. Patting his shoulder, Zhang Yuochen said, "Truth is not always music to your ears." "But it is the truth." Even though she knew you had been refined by Yi into a demonic shadow, the Orange Star Emissary still tried to save Yi when I was about to kill him, and she never thought about you at all. She's a woman who does not love you back. She will never give you a look, even if you have done so much for her. Are you such a fool? Bukion Fan closed his eyes and said, I don't care. You have the right to love somebody deeply. I was like you before, but I paid a high price for it at last. You can never force a woman to love you back. All you can do is change yourself. Otherwise, she will be your weakness forever. Zhang Yuochen shook his head again and said, when you think it through, come to me. I will lead you out of the scroll world. Because of you, Senpu Gentry will certainly be punished by the Imperial Court. If you refuse to perk yourself up and hurry back to the East Region Saint City, Senpu Gentry will suffer immeasurable losses. Zhang Yuochen did not meddle in his love affairs. What needed to be said was said. It was enough. If Bukion Fan was still stuck in his unrequited love, then nobody could help him. When Zhang Yuochen mentioned Senpu Gentry, aspiration rekindled in Bukion Fan's eyes. He seemed to realize the duty on his shoulders. Wait, Fan said. Zhang Yuochen turned around and looked at him. Fan heaved a long sigh and said, I am going back to Saint Gentry. Since I have made big trouble, I have to go back and make up for it. I will undertake my requisite duty. Seeing him out of the woods so quickly, Zhang Yuochen could not help thinking highly of Fan, and he said, Great, come after me. After opening the doorway to space and time, Zhang Yuochen led Fan out of the scroll world himself. They appeared in a deep valley and God-falling ridge at the same time, and they walked side by side out of the valley. Zhang Yuochen said, I hope you will keep my secret to yourself forever. If you can do it, a favor will have been paid. Fan gave Zhang Yuochen a cold look, and said, Are you pitying me? You can rest assured that I will not spill the beans. As for the 2 favors I owe you, just give me a word, and I will come repay them right away.